Look at the coin. Watch this coin. All right. I wave my hand. Look, nothing up my hand, just a wounded hand. I wave my hand around. Here's the coin. Here's the coin. You can see it plain as day. Got no fingers, right? Can't use my hand. Wash it together, and I still have the coin in my hand. See, coin's still in my hand. All right, that's fine. All right, now watch this. Watch this. I'm going to take this coin and I'm going to put it on my head. All right. So the coin's on my head, under my hat, nice and secure. All right, nothing in my hands, see? Nothing in my hands. All right, perfect. Okay, watch the magic trick. All right, now, again, nothing in my hands. Okay, everyone's sorted. You saw that? And look, bingo, it's back in my hand. It's back in my hand. Is it under my hat? No, it's not. See, there's no coin there whatsoever. All in my hand. It's an amazing trick. Now, the riddle is, how did I get it there? Hello and welcome to this episode of How to Be a Great GM, where we're looking at riddles. Now, unlike magic tricks, which are silly little optical illusions, or in this case, 2 coins, not that that was very surprising, but riddles need to be as obvious as this magic trick. Otherwise, your players are simply going to lose focus, get very, very disenchanted with the whole thing, and basically give up. So how do you make sure that your riddles are equally as interesting, equally as exciting, no, let's not be silly, as well as challenging enough to keep the players interested, but not? So like a bandage, when I come to designing a riddle, I like to think of it as a series of layers which slowly get unwrapped, and each time it gets unwrapped, you reveal a bit more, until eventually you discover the final solution. So how do you do it? Well, these are my ways in which I create riddles. Now, the first thing to bear in mind is that very often we fall back on tried and tested ones. What walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 legs in the dusk in the evening? You know, and the answer is man, who crawls and then walks and then uses a walking stick. Well, nowadays we have wheelchairs and walkers, so that riddle doesn't work so well, as opposed to the past, where he would hobble along with a stick. 32 white horses stand on a red hill, they stomp, they chomp, and beat their hooves. What are they? Teeth. So again, those things make sense in one way or another, but otherwise, well, we've all heard them. And what's it got in its pockets is not a riddle, it's a question. So that's the next thing, is 1, you have to avoid these old ideas of rehashing existing riddles. It doesn't work. People have heard them, they've read them, and they're online, and so we're exposed to them. The other thing that doesn't work is to not actually ask a riddle, but to ask a question. Now, it is my humble opinion that Gollum could have called Bilbo out on that little question. It's not a question, it's a riddle. And the reason why is because it has to actually give you the answer in its descriptor. There must be some kind of answer buried in there that when you apply it is the only answer that can possibly happen. Now, this leads me to my next point, is that it might be the only solution that you can come up with, but your players may put together the same riddle in a different way and come up with a different answer. And guess what? If the answer they give fits all of the criterion of your riddle and could be the answer, it becomes the answer. Doesn't matter what the real answer is, because if you say, no, that's not the answer, they will have given up at that point. They will simply say, well, we gave you something that worked, and because it wasn't the right answer, it's not going. You don't want to do that. And what have you gained? What have you gained by saying, well, no, that's not actually the right answer? It might fit the riddle, yes, but it's not the right answer. No, you gain nothing except for frustrated players. So if they give you an answer to a riddle and it fits, that's the answer. That's the answer. Take it and move on. As with traps, you don't want riddles to stop the game or to disengage players from the game. And this now brings me to my next point, is we don't ask players to actually simulate combat when we are doing combat rolls. We just roll the dice most of the time. However, when it comes to the little grey cells, when it comes to the idea of exercising intelligentsia, we then suddenly step back from the rolls and we start making everyone just use their own brain. I would advocate that you still allow your players to make rolls. Roll that intelligence check, roll that intellect skill, get under your necessary percentage. Whatever the outcome, if it's positive, obviously if they succeed in what you've determined to be the target number or the difficulty value or whatever you've decided as the GM is the difficulty of this task, if they do that, then you give them a clue. You give them some kind of hint, some kind of idea as to what the solution to the riddle could be. But you don't just whitewash it and say, oh, well, you solve the riddle, you give the riddle to the Sphinx, it nods at you and you both walk on. No. You give them clues, and if they still can't solve it, or if they seem as if they're disengaged from it, then and only then do you give them the answer. So, and this is possibly going to be one of the shortest GM videos ever, because, well, there's not that much to say on riddles, is that riddles should be comprised of 3 sentences. That's a good riddle, in my opinion. More sentences and the players are writing down things forever and they're trying to remember. Is it this line? Did he say it's a thorn by any other rose is the same as a name of Blanche? I don't know. Is it Golden Girls? Is that the answer? Is it Golden Girls? No, the answer is not Golden Girls. So 3 lines allows your players to jot down notes, to make their assumptions, and to work on that as a simple thing. In less than 2 lines, they don't have enough information. They really don't have enough information, because the 3 lines that I advocate that every riddle should have are 3 different pieces of information about the same thing. So as with murder mysteries, where we had the problem of giving them enough clues and sending them in the right direction, with a riddle, you need to give your players enough clues as well. And don't worry if the players get it right. They're supposed to. It's not about you proving your intellectual superiority over your players. No. It's about them solving it. And if they solve it quickly and they solve it easily, well then, more fool on the wizard who installed the riddle thing in the first place. They are smarter than him. Well done. Later on, you can hit them with a bunch of ogres just to prove that you still have power, if you really need to do that sort of thing. So what are the 3 things that those 3 lines should speak to? Well, it's quite simple. They should speak to the look of the thing. So if you go to 32 white horses, stomp on a red hill. Well, 32 white horses standing on a red hill. 32 horses, white, standing on a red hill. That doesn't necessarily indicate teeth, does it? No, not by any means, not by any stretch of the imagination. But it does give you a visual. Now, often with riddles, they will give you the visual of something that it is not. Horses are not teeth, but horses have lots of teeth. And if you have a long face, you've got a horse-like face. And teeth like a horse means you have protruding teeth. So there are some vague references to teeth, but just 32 white horses on a red hill means nothing. So then the second line talks to the action that these things take. So in the case of horses, they stomp, they chomp, and they bite, or something along those lines. I forget the actual riddle. That's not what's important for this example, though. So they stomp and they chomp and they grind. You could make it even more alliterative or more of a metaphor or more direct sounds of chewing. However you want to do it. So now you've got this visual, you've got the look, and now you've got the action that they take. Which means the very last thing that we need to describe is the location. So where might you find these things? And the riddle itself doesn't go on to give location. If it does, I forget. Shoot me. I'm not a huge fan of riddles because they can cause a block, but they give a location. So we might say, upon the head they stand. That's all you need to say. Now you've got the look, the action, and the location. And with that, it should be enough to then start to piece together and solve the riddle. Now, riddles should be used sparingly. You really, 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 really don't want to use riddles over and over and over again, the same as with traps. They are a diversion. They are a nice little intellectual puzzle that your players can solve and feel good about solving. They're a non-combat, which makes it much more narrative. And again, the riddles should be driving you to, well, what and who and why did they put that there? What were they trying to make sure happened? Riddles oftentimes are placed to prove a certain amount of mental acuity or a certain way of thinking that speaks to a collective. So the reason why the riddle should be there should not just be because I want to riddle. It should be as a test for something. Riddles often weren't designed to keep things out, rather just to make sure that the right thing went through. So that's my take on riddles. 3 lines, the look, the action, and the location of the thing you are describing. More than that and you're clouding the issue. Less than that and you aren't giving the players enough meat to go on. Use the skill checks and the intelligence checks and all of the other things that your system uses to give the players clues, but don't give them the final answer. And don't use more than one riddle in a session, unless it's a game of wits between this powerful creature. Dragons supposedly loved riddles in one of the editions of Dungeons and Dragons. So now here's an opportunity to bring it in if you really, really want to. I hope this has been useful on how to use riddles in your game. If it has, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you want more, and leave your comments below, because of course next week is your questions reviewed. I think I skipped July's, but anyway, we've still got another day, or at least another week left of August before we thunder into September, the 7th month. Anyway, so until next time, I wish you and yours the happiest of gaming.